Walk into a LensCrafters, try on a pair of Ray-Bans, compare them to the Oakleys on the next rack and the Prada frames in the case and the Versace pair by the mirror. Ask the associate what your EyeMed insurance covers. Shop around afterward at Sunglass Hut or Pearle Vision or Target Optical or online at glasses.com. Congratulations! In that entire journey, the brands, their competitors, the store, the rival stores, the website, and the insurance paying for it, you never once left a single company. This is the file about Luxottica, the eyewear giant most Americans have never heard of, and the reason your glasses cost what a laptop costs. The frames themselves? Industry analyses put the manufacturing cost of a typical frame between $4 and $15. The average retail price is around $230. This is the Liquidation Files. Open the folder, and this time, the folder is shaped like the aisle you shop in. Start with the man, because this empire had a single architect. Leonardo del Vecchio grew up in an orphanage in Milan. His widowed mother couldn't afford to keep him and apprenticed as a tool and die maker. In 1961, he founded Luxottica in the Italian Alps as a small parts supplier for eyeglass makers. And over the next 60 years, Del Vecchio executed one of the most complete vertical takeovers in the history of consumer goods, one link of the chain at a time, in a product category nobody was watching. By the time he died in 2022 at 87, he was the second richest man in Italy, and the machine he built runs on without him. Here's the chain, link by link, because the structure is the story. Link 1. The factories. Luxottica didn't stay a parts supplier long. It became the manufacturer, eventually operating hundreds of plants and building frames at industrial scale for pennies on the retail dollar. Link 2. The brands. In 1999, Del Vecchio bought Ray-Ban, the most recognized eyewear name on earth, from Bausch and Lomb, which had run the brand into gas station discount bins. Luxottica cut the cheap supply, raised the quality, tripled the positioning, and turned a fading label into a premium icon again, proof that the label, properly managed, was worth more than the product. Purcell, Vogue, Oliver Peoples, Arnett, Costa joined the stable, and then there's the layer most shoppers never suspect: the designer glasses, the Chanel frames, the Prada, Versace, Armani, Burberry, Dolce & Gabbana, Ralph Lauren, Tiffany, Coach. Those aren't made by fashion houses, they're made under license, in the same Luxottica production system, with the designer's name applied and a royalty mailed to Paris or Milan. If you watched our Kirkland file, you already know this shape. The factory is the product, the label is the markup. The difference is direction. Kirkland uses the shared factory to strip the markup out for you. Luxottica uses it to multiply the markup, the same production line wearing 10 different luxury names, each priced as if it came from an atelier. Link 3, and this is where Del Vecchio went where no manufacturer had gone: the stores. In 1995, Luxottica pulled off one of the most audacious deals of the decade, a hostile takeover of U.S. Shoe Corporation, an American conglomerate 5 times Luxottica's size, which Del Vecchio bought essentially to extract one asset: LensCrafters, the largest optical retailer in North America. He sold off the rest. A frame maker now owned the eyewear aisle itself. Sunglass Hut followed in 2001, Pearle Vision in 2004, and the optical department's inside Target, thousands upon thousands of storefronts, all feeding the same parent. When the Federal Trade Commission examined the Pearle acquisition, it let the deal stand. Regulators for decades treated eyeglasses as business as usual. So today, when you comparison shop between the mall's sunglass kiosk and the optical superstore across the parking lot, you are, more often than not, comparing a company to itself. Link 4, the one that should genuinely stop you: the insurance. Luxottica owns EyeMed, the second largest vision benefits provider in the United States, covering roughly 43 million Americans. Follow the whole loop now, in one breath. The company makes the frames for dollars, brands them with names it owns or licenses, prices them in stores it owns, and then also operates the insurance plan that covers part of the price it set, steering its members toward its own retail chains, where the discount comes off a number the same company invented. Every negotiation that's supposed to protect a consumer, brand versus brand, store versus store, insurer versus provider, is happening inside one org chart. It's the Sears Files both sides of the table problem, except instead of one company's balance sheet, the table is your face. And in 2018, the chain closed its final link. Luxottica merged with Essilor of France, the world's dominant maker of prescription lenses. The biggest frame company and the biggest lens company, now one entity, controlling the glass and the plastic and the store and the checkout and a big piece of the payment. Encyclopedic descriptions of the merger use a word companies usually sue over. This one mostly shrugged. Now, the myth bust, because this channel checks the internet's homework even when the internet is on our side. You've probably seen the claim that Luxottica owns 80% of the eyewear industry. Fact-checkers looked into it. That number, as stated, doesn't hold up. The company itself counters that it holds roughly a quarter of the global market, and globally, counting every $2 reading glass on Earth, that's probably closer to true. But here's why the correction doesn't rescue your wallet. Market share is the wrong measurement. What matters is control of the choke points, the premium brands people actually ask for, the licensed designer names, the anchor retail chains, and the insurance network. And there, the concentration is exactly what your receipt suggests. As one antitrust scholar put it when asked whether Luxottica qualifies as a monopoly, if you define one as a company big enough to determine the terms of business in its industry, it qualifies. You don't need to own every pair of glasses. You need to own the shelf, the sign above it, and the card that pays for it. Which brings us to the story that shows what the shelf is worth, the Oakley story. In the early 2000s, Oakley was the defiant independent, the biggest sports eyewear brand in the world, beloved by athletes, openly resistant to Luxottica's terms, and Oakley depended, like everyone, on Sunglass Hut, which Luxottica had just bought. When the pricing dispute came, Luxottica pulled back Oakley's presence from those shelves, and Oakley's stock cratered. The brand fought on for years, but the lesson had been administered in public. The road to the customer ran through Luxottica, and the toll was negotiable only in one direction. In 2007, Oakley sold to Luxottica for over $2 billion. The defiant independent now sits in the case next to Ray-Ban, priced by the same hand. If you remember our Kirkland file, Costco uses its shelf as a weapon to force prices down for its members. This is the same weapon, held upside down. Let's be fair for one paragraph because the file demands it. Essilor-Luxottica makes genuinely good products. Ray-Bans earned their comeback. Essilor's lens technology is real science, and the company points to its foundation work, providing vision care to underserved communities around the world. Nothing about the machine is secret, and regulators have reviewed its pieces repeatedly and signed off. This isn't a fraud story. It's something more interesting. A perfectly legal architecture in which the appearance of a competitive market, a whole mall's worth of choices, is one company's interior decorating. So, what does this file add to our shelf? Every collapse we've covered ended with a question: where did the value go? Luxottica is one of the places value goes. The $200 gap between what your frames cost to make and what you paid isn't waste. It's the yield on 60 years of quietly buying every seat at a negotiation you thought you were part of. Nobody looted this company. This company is what the looting funds buy, the fully assembled version of every structure in our files, the owned brands, the both sides table, the weaponized shelf, running not as a scandal, but as a business model, on your face, right now. Next time you're trying on frames, flip them over and read the tiny letters on the temple. Then look around the store at all your options. Count how many companies you're really choosing between. If you want more files like this one, the companies you grew up with, the labels you trusted, and the paper trails underneath them, that's what we do here at the Liquidation Files. The next file is already open. I'll see you in that one.